Welcome. I hope you are having a wonderful night. Tonight, I will be telling some terrifyingly scary stories. Make sure to leave your feedback on the comments so I can make this the best experience for you. I hope you are warm and ready. Let's begin. When I was a senior in high school, I took on a part-time job at Target. It kept me busy from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m., 4 to 5 nights a week. By the time we finished closing the store, sorting out the registers, and completing the final tasks, it was usually around 10:30 p.m. My coworkers and I would quickly make our way out of the building and head home. Luckily, the store was situated not far from a bike path that ran close to my house. It was a convenient route that allowed me to cycle home in around 15 to 20 minutes, passing through a large subdivision. On one particular night while riding home, something strange and unsettling happened. I was approaching the midway point of my journey, where the bike trail passed through an undeveloped field. It was poorly lit, with only a few dim lights scattered in the distance. As I pedaled along, I decided to slow down for a moment to change the radio station on my CD Walkman. Yes, I realize I'm dating myself here. Little did I know, this innocent act would mark the beginning of an unnerving encounter. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a dark figure about 100 feet away from me on my right. Without warning, the figure started running toward me from the depths of the dark field. In an instant, my fight or flight instinct kicked in, and I felt a surge of adrenaline. Without hesitation, I began pedaling my 18 speed mountain bike with a ferocity that would rival a Tour de France cyclist. Fear propelled me forward as I desperately tried to escape the pursuer, glancing back for a brief moment. I saw the mysterious individual clad in black, attempting to give chase. It sent a chill down my spine. But I knew I had to keep pushing myself to outrun this person. What should have been a leisurely 15 to 20 minute bike ride turned into a frantic and breathless sprint home. I pushed my bike to its limits, relying on top speed and the highest gears to propel me forward. It was a heart-pounding race against the unknown. Arriving home in record time, I finally felt a sense of relief wash over me. However, the encounter had left me shaken to the core. Sleep eluded me that night, as my mind continuously replayed the harrowing event. Even to this day, during my darker moments, I find myself occasionally revisiting that chilling encounter, grateful that I managed to escape unscathed. Nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to discover the morning after a night out. It was a typical evening, as my family and I prepared to attend a fundraising event at our local bar. Having recently turned 18, I was looking forward to a laid-back night, surrounded by friends and loved ones. As I mingled at the bar, I approached to pay for my drink, only to be told that it had already been taken care of. Curious, I turned to see my cousin's partner, a man who I had rarely interacted with before. He was around 12 years older than me, and after exchanging brief pleasantries, I expressed my gratitude. At that moment, nothing seemed amiss, and I thought nothing more of our encounter. Later in the night, as the event came to a close, I gathered my family and mentioned my intention to head home. It was around 11:30, and I stepped outside for a smoke before heading to my car. Just as I was about to leave, I heard someone call my name. I turned to find my cousin's partner approaching me. He asked if I was heading home for the night, which struck me as odd. I casually replied that it was late, and I planned on calling it a night. Without missing a beat, he mentioned the car I drove and cryptically remarked that he would see me around sometime. His words sent a chill down my spine, and I bid him a hasty goodnight before walking off to my car. There were plenty of people around, so I felt relatively safe. Once I got into my car, my phone suddenly buzzed. I pulled over to check it, only to discover my mother on the other end, begging me to go and stay at my grandmother's house for the night. She had a strong sense of foreboding and insisted that I not return home alone. Initially annoyed, I couldn't fathom why she felt that way. I was accustomed to being alone at home at night, but she wouldn't let it go. Irritated, I ended the call and began driving home. Despite my reluctance, I decided it would be easier to go to my grandmother's house rather than argue further with my family. When I arrived at my grandmother's house, everyone was already asleep. Feeling increasingly frustrated, I made my way to bed, hoping for a peaceful night's sleep. The night passed uneventfully, and I awoke the next morning to the sound of my family discussing their shared sense of dread the previous night. My mother and I left for home around lunchtime, and as we pulled into the driveway, an unsettling feeling washed over me. Approaching the front door, I noticed a police card wedged into it, urging us to contact them immediately. I entered the house, and there, on the kitchen table, I found my mother's camera. A glaring red flag, as it had been in my bedroom before we left for the fundraiser. Concerned, I hurried to my room and was met with a scene of utter chaos. My entire room had been ransacked, while the rest of the house remained untouched. Blankets were pulled back, and it appeared as though someone had been in my bed. My underwear drawer had been flung open, and articles of clothing were strewn across the floor. To make matters worse, another one of my mother's cameras lay on the table opposite my bed, where my TV was positioned. Overwhelmed, I realized that if I had gone home as planned, I would have blindly made my way through the house and crawled into bed without switching on the lamp, completely unaware of the state of my room. My mother gave them a call to find out what happened, and what she told me made the blood drain from my face. Police were alerted to a break-in at our next-door neighbor's house when our neighbors found a man wandering inside their house. The man claimed he was my friend and went into the wrong house, and they chased him out. Our house had a big 8x12 deck, which looked over my neighbor's house. They called police again when they spotted the same man having a smoke on our deck. Police arrived at our house at 2 in the morning, but since I wasn't home, no one answered the door. They noticed the lights on, so they went inside to investigate. They made their way through the house and found a man hiding in my bedroom in the dark. He couldn't give a reason why he was there, or why he was hiding in my room. They had arrested him and taken him to the station and wanted to know if we knew him. Turns out it was my cousin's partner, and he had been hiding in my bedroom for over an hour, waiting for me to get home because he knew I would be going home that night. My mother's gut feeling saved me from going home alone that night, and my neighbor's vigilance helped to catch a creep. I always listen now, without question, whenever she has a bad feeling. Who knows what would have happened? All I know is it wouldn't have been pretty. He was charged with breaking and entering and spent some time in jail before being released and moving country. Always trust your mother's gut feeling, people. It sure saved me from having to deal with that. I lived in a small bay town when I was younger, a town where everyone knew each other, and gossip traveled faster than the wind. There was this one friend of mine. Let's call him Jake, and we were inseparable. In a town as quiet as ours, we had to find our own ways to entertain ourselves. Most nights, we would stay up late playing video games, munching on snacks, and occasionally sneaking a few beers. Jake had always mentioned strange occurrences in his house, especially when he was alone. The house itself was old, with rumors circulating that a murder had taken place there, along with other deaths from various causes. But we often dismissed such tales as folklore meant to spook the younger folks in town. I was 16 at the time, and Jake was a year older. On this particular night, we had planned to pull an all-nighter gaming session. With our stash of snacks and drinks in hand, I made my way to Jake's house. His parents were out, so we had the entire house to ourselves. Everything seemed normal as we settled into his bedroom on the ground floor. We fired up the consoles and immersed ourselves in the virtual worlds. But as the hours ticked by, Jake's stories about the house began to haunt my mind. About an hour into our gaming marathon, nature called, and I made my way upstairs to use the bathroom. As I climbed the stairs, I noticed something peculiar. The attic hatch in the ceiling was open. It sent a shiver down my spine, but I brushed it off as a simple oversight. I returned to Jake's room and mentioned it casually. We both shrugged it off, trying to hide our growing unease. Time passed, and it was now Jake's turn to use the bathroom. In a playful tone, he joked about the attic hatch being open again. To play along, I offered to accompany him upstairs and investigate. As we turned the corner toward the staircase, a cold chill ran down our spines. There, at the top of the stairs, was a faint glow emanating from the wide-open attic hatch. Fear gripped us, but we mustered the courage to inch closer. We closed the hatch, turned off the upstairs light at the bottom of the stairs, and hastily retreated to Jake's room. Slamming the door shut, we locked it as if our lives depended on it. Neither of us could hide the terror etched on our faces. That night, we decided to share a single bed, seeking solace and safety in each other's presence. As we lay there, desperately trying to find sleep, the house remained eerily silent. Eventually, exhaustion overcame me, and I drifted into a deep slumber. But my dreams turned into a waking nightmare. I found myself in Jake's room, only this time everything was black and white, like a scene from an old horror movie. It felt so vivid and real that I didn't immediately realize I was trapped within a dream. I rose from the bed, compelled by an unknown force, and found myself drawn toward the window. Two hedges appeared out of nowhere, framing a chilling sight. An arch covered in decaying vines, and beneath it stood a woman in a wedding dress. She turned to face me, and a sinister smile spread across her face. At first, it seemed harmless, but then her grin stretched impossibly wide, reaching both her ears. A piercing laughter filled the air, ringing in my ears. Meanwhile, something scratched at the door behind me, but I was paralyzed with fear, unable to tear my eyes away from the haunting figure before me. According to Jake, I had risen from the bed, my face contorted into an eerie grin. I had walked over to the window, staring out with an unsettling intensity. Then, I had left the room, and moments later, he heard a loud thud. Finally, I had returned to the room, collapsing on the couch and falling back asleep. We were filled with a mix of curiosity and trepidation as we gathered ourselves and ventured out of the room. Nervously, we climbed the stairs, our eyes fixed on the top, half expecting the attic hatch to be wide open once again. And to our dismay, our worst fears were confirmed. The light was on, and the attic hatch gaped open, revealing the darkness within. Chilled to the bone, we exchanged terrified glances. It was as if some unseen presence was toying with us, its intentions unknown, but undoubtedly malevolent. We hastily closed the attic hatch, securing it tightly as if sealing away a portal to another realm. No longer able to bear the weight of the unexplainable, we made our way out of the house, leaving behind the mysteries that lurked within. To this day, that night remains etched in my memory, a haunting experience that tested the limits of our courage and left us questioning the true nature of the supernatural. It served as a chilling reminder that sometimes the scariest tales are not mere fiction, but rather manifestations of something far more sinister, lurking just beyond the veil of our understanding. Suddenly, I jolted awake, my heart pounding in my chest. I found myself on the couch in Jake's room, not in the safety of his bed. Jake's eyes widened as he realized I was conscious. He asked if I had been up during the night, and confusion washed over me as I replied that I hadn't been. That's when he revealed what had happened in the middle of the night. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a spacious house during my childhood. Thanks to my father's profession as a physical therapist, among the rooms on the first floor, there was a side room towards the back that my siblings referred to as the second living room. It was a rather neglected space, furnished with an old recliner, a small table, and a mid-sized couch. Rarely did anyone in my family spend time there. One particular morning, I woke up feeling unwell. I informed my mother, who suggested I take the day off from school and stay home. My siblings had already left for school, and my parents were at work, leaving me alone in the house. I lounged around in bed for a few hours until around 10:30 a.m., when I heard steady footsteps emanating from the first floor. Initially, I paid no mind to it, assuming it was simply my mother arriving late, as she sometimes did. Besides, I needed to grab something to eat, so I got up and made my way downstairs to the kitchen. I had barely made it 3 feet from the entrance of the kitchen's walk, in doorway, when my gaze locked with that of a man standing before me. He stood about 6 feet tall, dressed in tattered and torn clothing. Frozen with fear, I remained rooted in place. We stared at each other for only a few seconds, but the moment felt like an eternity. The man remained motionless, his expression devoid of any emotion. Eventually, I managed to snap out of my shock and sprinted back upstairs to my bedroom. I couldn't hear if he was following me, but I locked the door and barricaded it with my dresser nonetheless. Grabbing my phone, instead of dialing 911 as I should have, I called my mother. Panic stricken, I yelled into the phone, informing her that there was an intruder in the house attempting to kill me. She urgently instructed me not to leave my room under any circumstances and to call the police immediately. I complied, and 15 agonizing minutes later, I spotted the police through my bedroom window as they arrived. I watched intently as they entered the house, waiting for the moment when I could safely leave my room and seek refuge with them. I recounted the entire ordeal to the officers, sharing every detail. They conducted a swift search of the house, yet found no trace of any person or signs of forced entry through a window or door. Shortly after, my parents returned home, their anger palpable that the intruder had evaded capture. I shared their frustration, but also felt a profound sense of relief that I had emerged unscathed. As the police began to pack up their belongings, one of the officers noticed a Walmart bag protruding from under our couch, the very couch in the side room. To our astonishment, upon investigation, we discovered a multitude of trash bags containing weak, old, rotting food, along with personal items such as wipes, water bottles, and even a bag filled with urine. A bag of urine, for heaven's sake. It dawned on us that the man in the kitchen had been secretly residing beneath our couch for weeks. I struggled to comprehend how none of my family members had detected the putrid odor emanating from the accumulated garbage during that time. Moreover, the fact that he had managed to remain completely silent under there baffled me to no end. We promptly cleared out the room, transforming it into a breakfast nook with wooden chairs, ensuring that no more trespassers would find a haven within our home. In a few months, I'll be heading off to college, alleviating the constant fear of a similar incident occurring again. However, the memory continues to haunt me whenever I wake up with a cough, serving as a chilling reminder of that unsettling encounter. The incident left an indelible mark on my psyche, but life went on. I focused on my studies and eagerly anticipated the upcoming chapter of my life in college. The prospect of leaving behind the fear and uncertainty that had plagued me since that day brought a glimmer of hope. As the months passed, my departure for college drew nearer. My family and I took extra precautions to ensure our home security, installing robust locks, a security system, and reinforcing the entry points. We made certain that no intruder would find their way into our sanctuary again. On the day of my departure, mixed emotions swirled within me. Excitement, anticipation, and relief mingled together as I bid farewell to my family and embarked on a new adventure. The college environment offered a fresh start, a chance to build new memories and leave the haunting past behind. Over time, the grip of that terrifying encounter gradually loosened. I surrounded myself with new friends, engaged in campus activities, and immersed myself in my studies. The incident became a distant memory, fading into the background of my college experience. Nevertheless, every now and then, when a cough or a reminder of sickness jolted me awake, a fleeting image of that man, hidden beneath our couch, would flash in my mind. It served as a stark reminder of the fragility of security and the unsettling reality that danger can lurk in unexpected places. As I navigate my college years, I strive to embrace the present, channeling my energy toward growth, learning, and creating a future filled with hope and opportunity. The memory of that intruder serves as a constant reminder to remain vigilant and appreciate the safety and comfort that my new surroundings provide. Life moves forward, and with each passing day, I distance myself from the shadows of the past. The lessons learned from that harrowing experience continue to shape me, instilling resilience, caution, and an unwavering determination to carve my own path, free from the clutches of fear. In the end, it is through confronting and overcoming adversity that we find the strength to thrive. And as I embark on my college journey, I carry with me the knowledge that I am not defined by the darkest moments of my past, but by my unwavering spirit and resilience in the face of adversity.